As I was telling him, like, Nate, can we do 4 press conferences this week? I got a lot of stuff I want to get out. So, and he was like, no, we're just going to do one on Thursday. And yeah.
Have you figured out Canisius's colors yet?
No. I'm going to actually kind of get through today's practice, and then we're off tomorrow. I'll start digging in tomorrow.
Was there a connection on this game, or did you guys?
No, not that I'm aware of. Just scheduling. A lot of times it's just you got to be opportunistic on both ends, and the dates obviously worked out, and sometimes scheduling a home opener is not easy. So obviously Canisius is a program that's been around for a while, and the coach has been around for a long time, even though he's just starting there. So we're going to come in with a lot of respect for him.
Have you ever coached against Jim Christian before?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
With moving into the Big 12, I know some of these games on your non-conference schedule had already been set up, the home and homes and all that, but do you anticipate a change to your non-conference scheduling to balance things out with the tougher league schedule?
Well, we want to be a national program, so we want to schedule, as such, and but you also want to protect your program and make sure you're doing the best thing for each individual team. Do you end up with a young team one year and you need to get experience? Do you have a really good veteran team that you really need to go challenge? I mean, I think there's always there's a little bit of art to scheduling, and by no way, shape, or form have I mastered that. But we're gonna kind of be in a good mode where we're kind of assessing everything. But I do really enjoy playing a really challenging non-conference schedule. I mean, it's something I think there's a lot of value not only for our program but just for the game of college basketball in general.
Do you prefer this system in college basketball where it's kind of year to year as opposed to football that has games scheduled out 8 years?
Oh, 100%. I mean, that makes no sense to me. But I don't understand a lot of things about football, so that's not like a negative. For me, it's I couldn't imagine, being a coach and you walk in and here's your schedule. That to me that's crazy.
Since we're catching up maybe on a little bit on schedule, I think years ago there was a thing here where y'all were supposed to start with NAU every year for like 10 years. And then obviously with Liam playing up there, you didn't want to do that. Could that go back at some point? Or?
Yeah, I'm sure we'll revisit that. I mean, that was just, a family issue, and, I didn't necessarily want to, be playing against my son. And, I think he was all for it. So that was 100% on me, and fortunately, between Shane and myself, and in our athletic directors, we were able to kind of, common sense, in my opinion, was able to prevail, and we were able to kind of push it back a little bit.
What about Gonzaga? That one was still hanging out there too, and I know you may beat them in Bahamas anyway, but I think you still kind of technically owe them a game up there. Is that?
Yeah, I mean, that's something I'm sure that we'll talk about, down the line, and nothing has been set up, firm on that. So.
Brian Jeffries was joking on the broadcast that Liam might be in the doghouse because we hadn't seen him in the first 2 games.
Yeah, well, Liam had a strained oblique. And so, he was out for, a couple weeks, and he just started practicing a little bit. So, hey, you don't practice, you don't play. I mean, it's the same for everybody.
Is that for picking up the baby? He's not in dad shape?
Well, no, I think he's in dad shape. He and Hallie are doing a great job with Luca. So I think it was more just, he got kind of pressured and contorted on a pass, and I've never strained an oblique. So but I don't know. So he'll be okay.
Is your favorite thing about being a grandfather?
Oh wow, it's just awesome. It's awesome in a lot of levels. It's awesome, seeing your kids take that next step in their life and become parents, and to see them do it well. It's been a lot of fun. He and Hallie have done a great job. Luca is an incredibly happy little guy, and so it's been fun. And it's just fun. Yesterday I went home from work, and my wife had some friends over, and Hallie was over there with Luca, and I got to come home and spend some time with them and help them out a little bit, and it's a great I guess distraction from your real job, to kind of get back to that stage. And kids are amazing. I mean, I couldn't imagine our lives without kids for my wife and I. But, you get to a point where your kids start getting a little older and don't need you as much anymore, at least for those early parenting things. They need you for money in their bank account and things of that nature. So there's that gap, where they kind of grow up, and we didn't expect the gap to be replaced so quick with a grandchild, but it's awesome that it is having a baby back in our lives, and hopefully we have a bunch of grandkids down the line.
Was Liam that kid that had the mini basket right away? I mean, did you have him going in basketball?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. Ball in the hand, and doing massage techniques to try to work on the elbow flexibility, elbow and wrist flexibility, for follow-throughs and stuff like that. Yeah, 100% he was.
So, adding, well, I was going to ask you about Krivas, of course, anyway, but any update on, well, do you think either him or Liam, for that matter, is available Monday? Or how?
Yeah, they both practiced yesterday. Now, listen, one's availability is probably more important than the other. Let's just be frank there. Krivas, he actually, he's been doing more and more on a daily basis. He practiced, for a good segment yesterday, and, I think he's going to, try to go again today. So, yeah, we're just, I'm not going to rush that thing. Like I've told you guys, I'm leaving it up to J-Rock. I'm leaving it up to Krivas, and I think it's trending in the right direction. And when he's ready, we're ready for him.
Is it a little bit tricky because you want to rest him? You see the long-term picture, obviously, but maybe you don't want to throw him in cold at Wisconsin in the first game or something,
It's not tricky to me. He's a good basketball player. He's got enough experience now, and if J-Rock thought that was the best situation, then I would embrace it. I'm not getting worried about tricks or trying to be tricky. when he's ready, he'll be ready.
Assuming he's able to go, how deep do you anticipate the rotation, like the first half rotation?
I'm still a work in progress, and it's not like you get through the exhibition games and you're like, all right, guys, it's not the old Jim Wall in the locker room where you have your cuts and stuff like that. So you made it, you didn't make it. So I'm open-minded. I kind of like the way we've been rotating it so far. So we'll see if that continues. But I think all guys have done a good job. Making a case for themselves and being able to help us out. And I believe each one of them individually can help us out. Now we just got to kind of take the next steps and start putting it together. So it'll probably be a little bit of a work in progress in time. And I wouldn't read too much into the first half of the first game, the first sub, the third sub. Because I haven't, gotten that deep into it. So I just like where we're at. I think we have a lot of good options.
What would you say, I guess, is your biggest concern about this team going into the season?
I don't really have any concerns. I like where we're at. I like who we got. I believe in them wholeheartedly. I like the work they've done, and I love the direction they're going. So no, I've got no concerns. That doesn't mean things won't pop up over time as you deal with adversity and maybe get exposed on a few things. But sitting here today, I'm not saying we're a perfect team, but I feel really good about where we're at.
Is there maybe one or two things about this team that you think will surprise people?
I don't know, because I don't know what people's expectations are. So I don't know if people think there's things we can't do well and we're going to do them well and that's going to surprise them. I haven't spent, honestly, I'm going to be honest with you, I haven't spent a lot of time outside of our program getting opinions on what they think of our team.
Jaden is obviously a more aggressive point guard offensively than what you've had here. What do you think that's going
I don't know if that's necessarily the case.
What do you think his ability then to get to the basket is going to do for this?
Jaden's a really good player. He's a really good player who I think he understands, the importance of winning and what it takes to win. There's obviously been, conversations he and I have had on, of things I think he can do to help make him more effective. That'll ultimately make us more effective. And he's had 100% buy-in. I love where he's at. It was awesome to see the way he started last game, but, how he started last game doesn't necessarily going to be an indicator of how he's going to start the next game. You got to go out and do it again and be consistent and everything about, you know, Jaden, you know, from the second half of last season to the off season to where he's at now, has showed me that he's going to have the ability to be a consistent performer. So I got a lot of belief in him.
You mentioned before how quick that recruitment was with Anthony, and I'm wondering, could you go a little more detail? I was wondering, like, was that like 2-3 weeks, and when did he come on your radar? How did you know, was he referred to you, or was it something because you knew the program was set before, or how did that?
Murph, you know, had kind of had him on his radar, and you know, we just got to a deal where, you know, I hadn't had much interaction or really any interaction with him, and you know, I mean, he was looking at certain situations, we were looking at certain options, and it just kind of came together really, really quick. I mean, there wasn't, you know, I'm not exaggerating when I had a conversation with him on one night, and the next day he was committed to us, you know, and it's not lip service. I feel great about it. I think sometimes in this deal we overanalyze things, and you know, sometimes, you know, opportunities come up, and they're great opportunities for both sides, and it's a little bit of a, I don't know, you could put it in the category just meant to be a little bit, but I love Deli, and I think he's gonna really help this team this year. You know, I mean, there might be, you know, a little bit of time where he's kind of finding his way in a new role and a new team and a new level, but you know, there might also be games where at halftime he's our leading scorer. You know, so I love where he's at. I love what he brings to the table, and you know, I just love his personality. I love how he carries himself. I love his seriousness, but I also love, you know, he's got a great sense of humor, and you know, he interacts really easy with me, which I think is a good thing.
So in those quick instances, then, like the way it came together with him, what do you have to see to be finally sold that, okay, that's
Yeah, I mean,
where
there's not one thing. You know, it's more of going to be an overall feel, and maybe just a conversation you have with him, and you know, and then you know, this world of high level basketball is pretty small, so you can usually cross reference, you know, things with maybe other people you know that know him as well, and so I think you do a couple of those things, and it comes together, and you know, I feel great about it. I mean, I feel really fortunate, to be honest with you, and I really appreciate him, you know, trusting us to make it happen in such a short window.
Isn't that kind of crazy how you'll spend 3-4 years recruiting a guy like Carter and some others that don't even work out, and then boom, a guy who, like you say, maybe can really be a factor just falls.
Well, I think in recruiting you have to be able to wear multiple hats. You know, I think the days of you know, hanging your hat on one thing, you know, I mean, I think one of the things we pride ourselves in as a staff is being diversified in how we recruit. You know, obviously people know we look at international players. You know, we're not afraid of looking at McDonald's All-Americans. We're not afraid of signing kids that are out of the top 100. We're not afraid of taking a transfer, you know, and so, you know, we're not afraid of redshirting guys to develop them. So I think, you know, we look at it, we want to have a diversified approach to where we're not just so dependent on one, you know, avenue, you know, because what if that avenue, you know, gets pretty busy and there's a lot of other people there, or it dries up, you know? So, yeah, so I've always felt that's really important, you know, and you know, how you recruit a transfer is probably a little bit different than how you recruit a 5-star.
Favorite Halloween candy?
I mean, a lot. Probably, you know, I mean, I could make a list of things I really like, but, you know, I think Almond Joy is always a good place to start, you know. But, you know, literally, there's not many I say no to. I mean, if you put those little bags in front of me, that little bowl of, you know, whatever, bite-sized candies or whatever they are, or this whatever, yeah. You know, I'm not afraid of those. I'll eat 6 of those, and I won't eat the king-sized Butterfinger because I'm a little bit intimidated. But I'll eat, you know, 2 times that if they're in smaller portions. So, like, you know.
Did you happen to see the Pacers-Celtics game at all last night?
No, I just saw that Ben played well, and I mean, I honestly haven't caught up on any of the highlights, but you know, Ben has it. You know, and I know this, when Ben feels like he's got something to prove, you know, I wouldn't bet against him.
You, I didn't know if we were gonna ask you, or get you today, but like, just you mentioned Emmanuel, I was just wondering if you've even approached that, or that still could happen as far as discussing, because I'm wondering, yeah, could you use him Monday, or do you think you maybe wouldn't want to, just in case, or?
Yeah, but we're gonna have those conversations in the next couple of days. But hey, like anything's here, I mean, the player is gonna have input. You know, it's not gonna be me sitting him down and telling him, okay, this is what you're doing. You know, we're gonna have input. You know, and give him some information and give him some opinions, and then we'll let him make the choice.
You haven't here, but I ever wondered at Gonzaga, did you ever have a situation where you planned on that and then somebody got hurt or some situation and then you pulled a player out maybe in December, January to play?
Not December, January, you know, that I could think of, but I know there was a young skinny kid we recruited one year who we told him he was going to gray shirt, then he was going to red shirt, then he could be a good time to maybe start his career. And the kid's name was Adam Morrison. He never gray shirted, he never red shirted, he started, and he was the 3rd pick in the draft a couple years later. So, like, yeah, I mean, you know, I don't know. I mean, that's, but I can't think of a specific example, Bruce, where we've brought somebody off a red shirt, you know.
Well, so is there a bigger picture here? I know half the reason we're here is your season opener. Do you look at it at all? It just, you know, you had so much prep, but now that it's getting closer, your 4th season, et cetera, I mean, does that hit you at all, or is it?
You know, I'm excited. You know, I know this, my energy and enthusiasm for this place and this program is only become more galvanized in my time here. So I'm as excited as I was my first year. I love this group of guys. It's so much fun, you know, starting this journey with a new group every year, because you understand how challenging it's going to be. I mean, there's beauty in the challenge, and so I'm just excited to get to work, and you know, I'm sure there's going to be some great moments, and I'm sure there's going to be some moments, you know, where we feel like, you know, we got to circle the wagons a little bit, and I love being in those moments.
I just have one more other scheduling thing. I was thinking of Purdue. Remember, you guys
Yeah.
postponed that. Is that still out there, or is it possible?
No. Yeah, I mean, we'll figure out down the line. It doesn't mean we'll never play Purdue again, but you know, we had to make some adjustments in our scheduling deal just because it got a little tricky. You know, and just with the changing landscapes of everything. So, you know, we feel like we're in a good way now, where we're going to be able to be really opportunistic and have a real solid plan about how we schedule, you know, going forward. And you know, you know, we made some decisions, you know, kind of our first year when we got this job that at the time seemed like great decisions. And then just so many things changed, we had to kind of recalibrate a little bit and kind of undo some of that. So, you know, but I always hope, you know, we'll you know, listen, I know you're never going to make a schedule that's going to make every, you know, person in your fan base proud, you know, but hopefully, you know, overall they understand that, you know, our eyes are on it, and we want to do the best job we can to put our program in the best position. And I think, you know what? When our fans, you know, get a feel and a taste of this 20-game Big 12 schedule, I mean, you know, I think they better enjoy that, because I don't know how much better it gets than that.
Well, it seemed like Purdue, because you played them out in Indy.
Yeah.
It seemed like it could be a Phoenix thing, like you're.
I mean,
used to, like,
initially there was, but we had to make some adjustments, and you know, and so Purdue was good enough to let us kind of, you know, do what we needed to do for our program. So there at this point there is no return.
Is that the same with Alabama?
No, we'll be. The plan is for us to play Alabama next year in Birmingham. Yeah.
Do you have a tournament yet for next year?
No.
By the way, how did the Duke? I know it's a long time in the future. The Duke Vegas thing. Is that a promoter, or do you and John agree on that again? Or
Well, you know, John and I have had conversations, you know, about, you know, trying to make sure our programs stay connected, and you know, we feel like there's a lot of value in playing each other. You know, and then you know, you get, you know, trust me, John and I weren't able to have conversations ourselves with Allegiant Stadium and get it reserved. So we have obviously had to work through a third party to put it together, and that's going to be awesome. I mean, that's going to be something that's going to be really cool, and you know, has an opportunity to be a special night for college basketball.
All right.
Cool.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks.
Thank you guys.
Deli, everyone's calling you Deli. I don't know if you want, what do you go by most of the time?
Everyone calls me Deli. That's pretty much how I go by. Yeah, Deli's perfect.
Just kind of maybe talk about how you got here and what was attractive, and Tommy said it all kind of came together all very quickly. What was kind of your side of that?
Yeah, so I spent 2 years at a school called Campbell in North Carolina. Had 2 great years there. Entered the portal after last year, and kind of was looking for a place to continue to get that development, that play development. because my goal is the NBA. So I tested those waters. Tommy reached out to me pretty quickly and was like, "This is what we've got. This is our situation. This is what we value." I told him what I valued and stuff like that, and it was a perfect match. That's why he's probably said it was the quickest recruitment he's ever seen. But yeah, we kind of connected quickly. Him, Coach Murph, they called me directly, and we were up all hours of the night just talking about what I can do, what they need, all that kind of stuff, and what we can do to win. And yeah, I loved it. I had been here before, so I knew what it was like. So I was just sold from the minute that they called me.
Talk about some of those values. What was attractive about that?
Yeah, I mean, player development's a big thing for me. It's the reason I came back to Campbell my second year, because that's something I believe that shouldn't go unnoticed in any place. And that's something here that I've noticed since being here the last probably 3 months, is that the amount we work out, the amount we lift, the amount coaches are always around wanting to, get us better. That's something that I've noticed in other places don't happen. And we've got a lot of guys from different places who have said at those old places that stuff doesn't happen normally. So that's something that I value, but also winning. Like that's something that I unfortunately haven't been a part of really, being at a mid-major level. My freshman year was successful, but I haven't made it to the tournament yet. So winning and play development are two things that I value the most. So that's something that they could sell me on and I was sold for.
So I think I heard you made it clear up front you were okay with coming off the bench if you had to, because you were the leading scorer there. I mean,
Yep.
is that true? And that seems like a big adjustment. I mean, you really okay with that?
I mean, there's a rumor that people think that starters are everything and benches are nothing, and that's not how it works. It's a team game, and as I've noticed, when you get to this level especially, it's like you need everyone to win, whether that's guys who are not playing at all, walk-ons, or starters. You need everyone, because it takes that in practice. It's like we can't get better if we don't have everyone in practice, you know what I mean? So now to say that I'm okay with it, I don't know if anyone's okay with that. If you offer anyone in the world here you want to start, they're going to say yes. Yeah. So I don't know if I'm happy with it, but at the end of the day, we're all here to play, and we're all good enough to play, and we all need to play to win. There's not one person that can go on the floor and win it for us by themselves. This league's too good. The competition's too good. So you have to have at least however many guys off the bench and whoever to play good. So I think that's the misconception that guys are kind of getting, like, oh, is he happy with it? Is he not happy with it? Either way, I've got to play well for us to win. Yeah. Other guys have to play well for us to win. It's not just me. It's not just Caleb. It's not just Trey. It's all of us.
Well, I just wonder, particularly because you seem like the kind of guy who could be in the portal. You were leading scorer. You want to get to the NBA. You could be shopping only for places that are going to say, we'll give you X minutes, you're going to get the ball, and you're going to be our 3 guard or 2 guard or whatever. But that, I don't know, but you were a little more flexible from what you're saying if you were in the right situation, like here, or is that what you mean?
Yeah, I mean, obviously when I was in the portal, I had almost every place, and I had a lot of places like that were like, here's the keys pretty much. But then, like, my goal is the NBA. That's what I've always dreamed of. So I just saw it as a place like, why would I can come here and I know I can get better, and I have the pieces around me that can help me get better. They can give me everything I need in order to get to that goal. So it doesn't really matter if I'm starting or if I'm coming off the bench playing 30 minutes. Either way, I'm playing 30 minutes. So it's like, if this is the best place that's going to develop me the best, well, that's where I want to go.
So when you look at the NBA piece, then are you just looking at the number of guys they put in? Or are you looking at guys specifically that maybe fit your descriptions? I'd say maybe like a Pelle Larsson, who came here and obviously got to the league and is on our roster right now. How did you assess that?
Yeah, Pelle's a great example. I think we're very similar. He's transferred in here. He spent a lot of time here. He developed, and now he's one of the best rookies in the NBA. He's solidified his spot on a roster. So I think that's a great comparison. Obviously, Arizona's got a great pipeline from college to the NBA. But it's Tommy, really, and all the coaches around him that he brings that have that experience of what it takes. And it's not just like, oh, this guy can average 20 points, he's going to make it. You got to find your little niche in the NBA. And that's what Pelle's done. That's what Keyshawn's done. So I think Arizona, and especially Tommy Lloyd's sort of style of coaching, is something that I just was sold for, because I knew that he understands guys like me and international guys, and he's always had that experience. So he kind of knows how to navigate us through that journey.
How many people were at your first game at Campbell? I think it was St. Augustine. It was like a non-Division I. What was the crowd?
My freshman year, maybe like 400.
What was the biggest crowd you played in front of at Campbell?
NC
State?
NC State, my freshman year, my second game ever of college. That was about, I think, 12,000. Virginia Tech last year, that was probably close to 10,000, about 8,000, I think.
But like a home crowd, what did Campbell hold?
They held about 3,500, but we would typically get around 800 to 1,000.
So, I mean, you've already played in front of, none of them have been as full as they would be on Monday night, but just the thought of having that many people that are on your side at a game, what does that feel like?
It's surreal. It's one of the best feelings because, like I said, I'm used to being that guy on the other side of that crowd, you know, being down 20 points and having to fight against those 15,000 people. So it's definitely a great feeling. It gets you. You don't need that extra motivation. You don't have to go into the game thinking, oh, I hope I have a good energy today, because they bring it for you. That's almost how it is. So I love it. I'm excited to get the season started. As you said, it hasn't even been what it's going to be. So
Connected with on this team, both on and off the court.
on and off the court, me and Krivas, I would say the closest. Just because I had two Lithuanian teammates at my old school. He kind of has become that new Lithuanian teammate for me. So and we kind of bond over things like, you know, being not from here and a lot more things in common. But Caleb and I, KJ and I, JB, Trey, all of us, I mean, we're pretty close as a team. But I would say Krivas and JB probably the closest.
We saw a little bit of your temper the other night. Would you say you're the kind of player that you go into games and, you know, don't mess with me kind of attitude?
Yeah, I think that's what you have to have. I think there's a spark that every person has to have that, you know, you got to basically draw a line in the sand and say, I'm not going back. You have to either deal with it or I'm coming at you. That's kind of what I did, and I knew it was an exhibition, so I was happy to kind of get that out there to start with. But won't be much more of that in the season because I'm a bit too smart for that.
Yeah, Tommy said you can't even like look at a guy now like that. I mean, was that what that was? And do you figure you'd have to really be careful in that situation?
About getting the tech?
Yeah, he said about the tech. He said, you know, it was right in front of the bench. We couldn't see it too well where we were, but he said you were just kind of standing over him, maybe because you were knocked in that position. But if you look at him the wrong way or something, the ref can see that as you're maybe trying to intimidate.
Yeah, I mean the game. Each ref's different. Each day is different. It depends what you get. I mean, you can never script something like that. It's just basketball. But I mean, you can look at the play 1,000 times. It is what it is. The ref might see it one way. You might see it another way. That day, it doesn't really matter. It was just you get in the heat in the moment. The ref wants to take control, and he does his job. So I can't complain about that. If anything, it's my fault for being in that position. I shouldn't have fouled. But like I said, it's an exhibition. So I'm glad that we get to get started now on Monday.
So speaking of Campbell, I know when Seth Henderson was here, he said that obviously the tempo was way slower there, but there were still some similarities in the way you're cutting and spacing, et cetera, screening. Do you find that the case too? It has a big adjustment to come here, or has that made it easier that you do some of the same principles?
Yeah, Seth's definitely right. There is similarities. I've noticed it since I've been here. Obviously, the pace is completely different. Campbell's one of the slower playing teams, and Arizona's one of the fastest playing teams. But the similarities kind of in the offense and how the bigs are used, the way the cutting works. Obviously, Campbell plays a Princeton style of offense, so that cutting comes natural to people who have been at Campbell. And that's something that Seth did in his time here. You could see him on a lot of those 45 cuts and those baseline cuts. But there is definitely similarities, and I think that's why Tommy has the liking towards guys like me, because we have that. That's all IQ at the end of the day. It's not about athleticism or how long you are or how high you can jump. It's just smarts and reading your defender. So there's definitely a pipeline between Campbell and Arizona play styles.
I know you weren't there when Seth was there, but did you know him or talk to him about
Yeah, I'm good friends with Seth. I spoke to him before I came here. I didn't play with him. He was his first year here was my freshman year at Campbell. But I'm close to him now. I've kind of, through my other teammates, they played with him. I've kind of connected with him, spoke to him about this place before I came and got his thoughts and all that kind of stuff. So I'm pretty close with him.
So did that influence you, or were you gonna come anyway, or did he
No,
say anything?
it had influence. Yeah, it definitely had influence. He's been here. He had been to a place. He knew about it. So and I knew I was going to get a real response from him because, you know, there's a lot of bias around, and I can't call Tommy and say, like, oh, what's it like? Of course he's going to sell me. When I can get said, he's going to give me either side of the ball. Doesn't matter. So.
When I talked to you a couple weeks ago, you had said that YouTube was kind of how you got hooked up with Campbell. How different a player are you from those YouTube highlights?
Oh, night and day different. From what I was before I came to America till now I'm a different person. I look at myself on film and like, oh my God, that kid sucks. That's how different it is. just that development of being in college. Like I didn't know about it until I got to the States, obviously. But the biggest thing I noticed about college was that development, and that's why it's something that I value myself on now, because there's guys that I've played with at Campbell who didn't get a run, who didn't play, and I've seen them improve from when they first got to Campbell when they left. And like I went back home after my freshman year, and I could see the difference between kids that I grew up against, and I go back home and I'm like, wow, it's not even a competition anymore. And like that's how I knew college was the right thing for me, because that player development is really, really focused on. So at night and day, to answer your question.
You talk about the offense. What about defensively? I mean, obviously, there's been a big point of emphasis here. Has that changed your game, and how how is that, like, again, how's that adjustment been on that side?
Yeah, I mean, defense is a big thing, especially going from the CAA to the Big 12. A lot of bigger bodies, more physicality. It's something that I'm trying to pride myself on. Obviously, the offense for me has been there the last 2 years, but defense is somewhere where you'll find playing time if you can defend. So that's something I'm focusing on in practice, and coaches on me to try and help me. It's not like a thing he's going at me to make excuses. It's a way to make me better. But yeah, you got to pride yourself on defense. Like I said, you got to draw that line in the sand and be like, you're not getting past me. And once you get that reputation in the league, then your life becomes a whole lot easier.
Do you have national team dreams in Australia to play?
Yeah, I hope it happens pretty soon. I'm pretty good friends with John, really. Been pretty good friends with him for a while now. Coach knows him very well. So I'm hoping that national team dreams are coming true pretty soon, hopefully 2028, if I could paint my future.
You know any of those guys like Josh Green who played here as well? Or,
I haven't met Josh Green. I've met a couple guys like Keanu Pinda, Dellavedova, a couple guys like that I've met sort of here and there, just going back home and practicing with, like I practiced with United a little bit, a couple NBL teams, the Wildcats and stuff like that. So I've built connections kind of as I've gone home, but I also haven't been home in 2 years, so I haven't seen those guys.
Yeah, did he ever tell you anything about here?
Keanu Pinda? Nah, I've really only met him in passing. He was at a workout, and I just sort of said, what's up, and that's about it. I haven't actually, and this was after my freshman year, so Arizona wasn't even a thought in my mind back then.
All right, anything else? Bruce, good to go?
No, well, I mean, let me ask you this. I mean, I was just curious about your background too, and I think Tommy, Tommy had spent a year in Australia, I think, when he was out of college or something,
Yep.
and he played a little semi-pro, and he worked in a hotel or something, I think. Did you guys talk about that at all, or was that a commonality, or, I mean, I know it was a rush recruitment again, but I was just curious.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about everything. That's the best thing about Tommy. I mean, I'm a guy that prides myself on having that relationship with coaches. Like, I walk into the coach's office, and I'll sit there for hours, and we'll just talk about anything. And basketball wouldn't even be the topic. So we spoke about everything. We just had natural conversations. He loves to, throw his little snipes out there about his time in Australia and all that. But I describe him to my parents as he's an Aussie trapped in an American's body. That's how Tommy is. If he wanted to be Australian, he could be.
Meat pies or something.
Yeah,
like that.
every day.
Yeah.
He'll send me a photo. He's sort of like, let's say next Tuesday morning, he'll send me a photo and it'll be a meat pie and a sausage roll on a plate. Just no text, just the photo. And I'll be like, breakfast of champions, and he'll love it.
He'll send you one from?
Yep. He's home from lunch, from anything. That's Tommy, and that's what I love about him.
What's your favorite thing about campus so far?
A lot of differences. 60,000 people is a big difference. Walking around and seeing events going on 24/7, that's something that's different to me. Football games, pretty cool, tailgates, that kind of environment. But I would say just walking around campus and you kind of have that swag that we kind of pride ourselves on. That's something that's pretty cool.
Thank you, guys.